What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Man here, welcome back to the channel. Beautiful morning here in Austria, and I thought I'd make a quick video about crag snacks because the question came up recently during a live stream. Hey Manny, what are your favorite crag snacks? What foods do you take to the crag? What do you like? And I thought I'd make a separate video on the topic because it's actually a bit more complex and interesting than it seems to be on the surface. So yeah, let's talk a bit about it. The thing is, when we're thinking about crag snacks, we don't only want something that tastes good and is nice to have, is lightweight and everything. No, we also want to have something that, furthers and assists performance, or at least does not impact performance to the negative, right? And in my experience, I'm doing this thing for a long time now already, and I've tried all different kinds of approaches when it comes to nutrition and diet. You know that if you've been following the channel for a longer time. The thing is, after some time, I identified three things that could potentially impact your performance to the negative. The number one thing is the presence of insulin. Okay, the presence of insulin in our body is simply a tired maker. The thing for that, the reason for that is that the insulin hormone is a storage hormone, and it seems to be the case that the body can only run in either energy expenditure, energy output mode, or it can run in energy input, energy storage mode. And the number one hormone, probably there's a whole plethora of hormones that regulate this kind of stuff, but the number one hormone that impacts these modes is insulin. So if insulin is high, we are in energy storage mode. If insulin is low, we are in energy expenditure mode. And if you eat something, insulin goes up, depending on what you eat, right? Some things spike insulin more than others. So the first thing that we have to look at here is the presence of insulin. The second thing, in my opinion, which is also interesting, is the presence of fat, okay? Independently from the presence of insulin, which often goes along with the presence of fat because you mix it with carbs and protein and whatnot, and then insulin goes up. Fat seems to kind of amplify the insulin response in that regard a little bit. But just the presence of fat. So if you eat something fatty, and it can also be something that is only fat, right? I don't know, like nuts or something like this, right? Which is very fatty. I mean, it's not only fat, but the high proportion of the calories comes from fat. This stuff raises your fat level, and fat is something that impacts at least my personal performance to the negative as well. I talked about this before, and this is especially true when it comes to plant oils. This is something that I already learned back then in my vegan days. This is why I was always a pretty high carb and low fat kind of vegan, because I wanted to avoid the oils. Because if you're vegan, you only have access to oils, right? You don't really have access to fat, because fat is something that we only find in the animal kingdom, right? Every fat in terms of plant kingdom is an oil, essentially. It's usually fluid at room temperature. So, apart from a few exceptions like coconut oil, for example. But the thing is, high fat levels make you tired. Not necessarily tired, but they impact your performance to the negative. You get kind of shaky. You don't have the access to your muscles as you usually have. I don't know the physiological reason for that. Okay, maybe the fat kind of gets into your blood and reduces the oxygen saturation, or maybe the fat kind of layers itself on top of your nerves and thereby interferes ion flow, and this way the nerves don't function as efficiently, or whatever it is. Okay, we don't know. The only thing I know is that if I eat fat, then the performance goes to the negative, and this is actually so crucial that I also pay attention to this stuff when it comes to pre-workouts, okay? Even if I have, let's say, an evening meal and I want to attack the next day morning, then I make better sure that this evening meal doesn't contain too much fat, and if it contains some, then it's no oils at least, and to a significantly lower percentage, right? So the main dominant part of these meals is probably carbs, because we want to be carved up. We want to burn carbohydrates. But carbohydrates are the in my opinion, okay, the ketogenic crew will now disagree, but carbohydrates are the most the macronutrient which gets you most into energy output mode, okay? Whether this is healthy or not, this is a different discussion. But in terms of athletic performance, you just look around at various high top elite athletes, and you usually find that they are not afraid of carbs. Okay, they are not the ketogenic crew. They smash in the carbs usually, and this is because it gives them performance. Simple as that. So this is the number two thing. Okay, the presence of fat is something that affects performance to the negative, at least in my experience. And then we have a third thing, and that is the absence of blood sugar. Okay, the absence of blood sugar is something that is problematic as well. If we drop into a blood sugar low, let's for example say you ate a ton of fruit before you attack the crag, then you get at the crag, your blood sugar plummets, and then you get tired. Okay, this is something that makes you tired as well. Again, it does not necessarily have to feel like tiredness per se, but once you grab the rock, you will find that you're a bit shaky, you don't have the access to your performance as you usually have. And it could as well be that just your blood sugar is low, okay? This is the third thing. So how can we, let's think about it. How can we design a crag snack that fulfills all these three boxes, that doesn't raise your fat significantly, doesn't raise your insulin significantly, and tries to keep your blood sugar at a constant good level, not too high, not too low? All right, so for me, I have found essentially I want to discuss the crag snacks that are most popular now, okay? Not only the ones that I've used, but the ones that are the most popular. And what I've found is three things that are really popular. Actually, four things, okay? But let's talk about these three things first. And these are, first of all the various bars and stuff like that, right? The cereal bars with the nuts in them and maybe the fruits in them and all that kind of stuff. The processed stuff, right? The thing is, most people use them. A lot of people use them, actually. I have never used them because I don't like them for a number of reasons. First of all, again, they usually contain some sort of fats because the producers advertise this stuff as, it's good because then you get energy from all the various macronutrients that you can get energy from, fats and carbohydrates and a bit of protein, right? The thing is, I don't want the fat and I also don't want the protein necessarily during a workout. I want the carbs. And if I have fats interfering with that, then the chance that this crag snack is gonna raise my insulin, obviously it raises my fats, which is something that I want to avoid, but it also raises my insulin because carbs and fat mixed together raise insulin much more than carbs alone. And the thing is that if you are already in a mode of energy burnage, so you are climbing, you're warmed up, you're coming down from a route, you're in energy expenditure mode. If you eat something that's only carbs and relatively, not complex carbs, short chain carbohydrates, like fruit, for example, like a banana, and this is the next thing that I want to get to in terms of crag snacks, then your body is able to readily soak up that sugar without the need of a lot of insulin, especially if you don't eat too much. So this is why we also don't want to eat too much, okay? We want to keep the amount that we eat at a reasonable amount, right? So we don't smash in 3 bananas, we only smash in 1 banana. Even though we would have enough hunger to get 3 bananas down, but if we eat 3 bananas, we spike blood sugar so much that the body will have to secrete insulin to lower the blood sugar again, and this is gonna make you tired, right? And afterwards, you're going to get a blood sugar drop, which is going to make you not necessarily tired, but it's going to cost you performance as well. So what we do is, this is something that I discovered then afterwards, and especially during my vegan days, the banana strategy, right? You get to climb a route, your partner belays you, you come down after, let's say, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of effort, your body is heated up well, you're warmed up, you're in energy expenditure mode, now you smash in 1 banana. If you feel the need for it, right? If you feel that your glycogen stores throughout your body are already quite depleted in your liver and in your muscles, that's where you store glycogen essentially, then you can keep up your blood sugar by smashing in something like a banana. And the banana, 1 banana, is not going to raise your insulin significantly if you're in energy output mode. It's not going to raise your fats. Okay, it keeps your blood sugar at a good level, which is the 3 boxes that we're going to tick here. And the banana has another advantage, which is that you get hydrated as well a little bit, because the fruit contains water in a complexated, fruity manner. Like it's not like you're throwing down water, pure water, and then you just take a piece around the corner and you lose it again, right? This is not proper hydration. Proper hydration always comes, the water of proper hydration always comes complexated in some sort of organic compounds, yeah, whether that's a fruit, whether that's milk, for example, raw milk, okay, that kind of thing. And another effect that a banana has as well, because it is a tropical fruit, it's gonna cool down your body. This is something that's really interesting as well, and very useful actually if the conditions are a bit on the hotter side. So you take bananas to do this kind of job, this kind of ticking the 3 boxes, if it's on the hotter side, because then your body is cooled down, your fingers get crisp again, you don't sweat on your fingertips, and you have significantly more performance on rock. If it's cold already and you smash down a banana, you will note afterwards that it's getting significantly colder very quickly. It's a tropical fruit, it's cooling down the body. Now the banana stands for a whole plethora of fruits, right? You could as well exchange the banana through an apple, or maybe eat, I don't know, a pineapple. Just be aware of the fact that tropical fruits are gonna cool you down more than others, right? The something like an orange or an apple or something like that, it's all essentially the same. It's some water and sugar and fiber, okay? So these things, they do a good job at keeping your blood sugar at a good level and not raising the insulin by doing that, because the body is already in energy expenditure mode, and we avoid the fats that come with some bars and processed crap, okay? Another thing that I see very often is nuts at the crag. This is especially prevalent among the vegan crew, I think. Nuts, for me, in my case, are a performance killer. If I eat nuts when I climb, I don't even need to go on the rock anymore, right? It's going to raise my fats so significantly, I'm going to be tired afterwards. And the reason for that is, of course, because nuts contain a lot of oil. Okay, it's not really fat, because fat we don't find really in the plant kingdom, but it's oils, and these have, for me at least, detrimental effects on performance. So don't eat nuts, or at least experiment around a bit. Maybe leave the nuts out and save them for the post-workout meal. Okay, when you get to the post-workout meal and you don't need to attack the rock anymore, then everything doesn't matter anymore. You can throw in the nuts because you want the protein, or you want the healthy omega-3 fats, or I don't know what you find in nuts that you want to eat so badly. But you can go for it after the workout. And then comes the third thing that I have discovered recently once I stepped away from the vegan thing, okay? And that is honey milk. Honey milk is a really powerful thing, man. If you make it with raw milk and raw honey, obviously, okay? For the amount of sugar that is contained in honey, it seems to be the case that it doesn't raise insulin as much as it should raise, according to the sugar content. Because honey, let's face it, I mean, it's almost pure sugar, right? It's a lot of sugar. But the thing is, because there are some enzymes complexated with that honey, if it's raw, right, it doesn't spike insulin as much as the same amount of sugar if it was processed sugar. And the thing is, with the milk in there, you dilute it a little bit. You can dilute it to an extent where it resembles something like a banana or some kind of other fruit. And because it's milk, there is also some protein, some very available protein, and there is also a little bit of fat in there, okay? But it's saturated animal fat. And with saturated animal fat, I have the feeling that the detrimental effects on performance are not as severe as when it comes to oils. This is just my personal opinion and experience. You have to experiment for that yourself. But when it comes to the honey milk, it's really interesting how it works. It's also very hydrating, obviously. And the thing is, contrarily to the banana, which has a cooling effect because it's a tropical fruit, the honey milk has a warming effect. Might be due to the fats, might be due to the protein that's in there, might be due to the minerals that's in there. it is sweet and it gives you sugar. It doesn't raise your insulin as much if you stay. I mean, you have to be really careful with the honey milk because you can drink a lot of honey milk very quickly when you get down and you're already, you're looking for some sugar because you're a bit, your blood sugar is a little bit low because you just were in energy expenditure mode. And you just take a few sips of the honey milk and it's gonna pep you up again, okay? But if you overdo it, you're gonna raise your sugar too much and the body has to secrete insulin then, because also there's some fat in the honey milk, right? So we have to be a bit careful with that. The body is gonna secrete insulin and you're gonna get tired. So don't overdo it. But the honey milk is a powerful thing, man. And when it's very cold, honey milk is just amazing. If you have super cold conditions, the warming effects of the honey milk get really noticeable and get really useful, okay? So these are the things that I use nowadays for crag snacking. It's essentially bananas when it's very warm or honey milk when it's very cold. And I try to dose them in the same, with the same sugar content, so to say, with the same sugar density. And the way that I always do it is I go to the crag, I do 1, 2, 3 attempts, or maybe 1, 2 attempts if my glycogen storages are already low. And then I start smashing the first banana in once I come down from a route, okay? I never smash a banana in just before I go on the route, because then the sugar, the banana just sits in my stomach and the sugar doesn't really get readily available to my muscle cells. Okay, I smash down the banana when I come down, then I digest it, soak it up during the time that I belay my partner, and 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, I go to the rock again, attack it, and I have a nice blood sugar level from that banana, and I also have some ATP readily available because already my muscle cells transformed something of that energy, of that blood sugar, into the energy currency for muscle contractions, right? So this is how I do it, and I just do it the same thing when I go for the honey milk. I just climb, come down, have a few sips of the honey milk, not too much. I don't want to spike my insulin, and then I just rest for 1 attempt of my partner and attack again right afterwards. This is how I crag snack nowadays. I never used the bars and all the things that are sold nowadays. This is, it's good money making, obviously. And I do understand that if you go for something like multi-pitches where you can't carry 5 bananas with you, I mean, why can't you actually carry 5 bananas up a multi-pitch? That's not so much, because you have to also take into account that the bananas contain hydration, right? So you don't have to take as much water with you. If you only have the gels and the bars and whatnot, the cereals, right? I mean, this stuff is gonna dry you out. You're gonna have to carry more water with you with that kind of stuff. But I understand that it's very lightweight, and on something like a multi-pitch route on an alpine setting, you don't want to carry as much stuff with you. So there, the bars and the really dense energy sources, and also with fats and stuff, with nuts, they make sense, right? But yeah, they don't have to have usually the access to their super max strength performance. They have to have access to endurance, right? To really be able to fight down 10 pitches of climbing. And for that, of course, you have to have a different supply than when you go sport climbing or even bouldering. In a sport climbing or even bouldering setting, the things that I just mentioned worked pretty well for me. Okay, I think this is pretty much my present opinion about crag snacks. They have to fulfill the 3 criteria, okay? You don't want to raise your insulin, you don't want to raise your fats, and you don't want to you don't want to plummet your blood sugar. You want to keep your blood sugar at a constant good level. The 4th thing that I wanted to mention before, what I see a lot in people is the nuts, by the way. So what I see a lot in people are the bars, some sort of fruit like a banana, nuts, which is for me the number 1 performance killer, and then comes bars, because usually the bars, they have some kind of chocolate or nuts or something mixed in there, which is what they always advertise with, that it's so great or whatnot. No, it's actually a performance killer. We want the carbs. So then comes the fruit game and the honey milk game, okay? These 2 are really the best, and depending on what kind of conditions you have, you go either for the honey milk or the bananas and the other fruits. All right, I've said enough. I'm rambling already. Guys, have a nice day. Keep crushing, and I'll see you soon in the next one, I think. Bye.